All right. Little technical difficulty. Got it figured out. Did it a little bit different this time than I normally do it with you guys, but there's already 13 people here. I apologize. I am 4 minutes late. I just wanted to get some stuff ready. And like I said, I set this up a little bit different than I have in the past. So, regardless, we're here. We're making it work. We're live. And yeah, I just want to hang out with you guys, talk a little bit about this channel, kind of what I want to do with it. I want to get some feedback from you guys on what you guys want to see. If you guys saw um, on Instagram, if you follow me on Instagram, yesterday morning we did a big poll and asked a bunch of questions. I think it was about 10 questions or so, just asking what you guys want to see, not only from our public YouTube channel here, but also our members only stuff. And just get some feedback. I think that was kind of the best way to do it. We got some really good responses. We got a bunch of people that chimed in on that, but I want to kind of talk about some of these things and hopefully get some more feedback from you guys as well. And if there's any questions on muskies, trout, what a walleyes, any of that stuff too, you guys are more than welcome to ask. This isn't just strictly say like a business call, right? Like anybody wants to talk about fishing, I'm here to talk about fishing, but I just want to ask you guys some questions and try and figure out where your heads are at so that I can provide you guys with the kind of content that you want to see. I think is the most important part of this, or what my biggest goal in this live chat is here. So we're going to hang out here for an hour, and then we're going to jump over. I'm going to do another, basically the same exact thing with our members here tonight, starting at 7 o'clock. So you guys fire away, type in your questions, comments, concerns, any of that stuff over here in the box. We'll go through all of them. We'll get them all answered and hang out here with you guys. So a little bit about what I'm up to. I'm up at my place in Canada with Jess. So I'm up here. I've been staring at my computer all day. I started editing some stuff. I woke up at like 4:15 this morning and couldn't go back to sleep. So just started jamming the keyboard. Got a bunch of editing done today, which was good. And just scarfed down some dinner and hopped on here with you guys. So stoked to be here. Do have some questions for you guys, and I hope you guys have some questions for me. And like I said, the next hour here is all between us and whatever you guys want to talk about. But yeah, Jason says he loves the lake trout content. Appreciate that. That's fun. I really enjoy doing that stuff. I love lake trout fishing. It's a really good time. Definitely enjoy it. It's really the only ice fishing I look forward to anymore. As far as thinking about like my off season, what it all looks like. Like I'm not technically guiding, say between November and March, but it is arguably the busiest time of year for me. Everything is so wild, so crazy. Getting everything ready for the next year. I would much rather just be fishing, but unfortunately, there is a business side of this world as well that you guys don't always get to see. But I show you guys the fun stuff. But lake trout are super fun. I really enjoy doing that stuff. Had a good time with that. I think I've been out 5 times so far this year. It opened on January 1st. Hopefully going to go out on Saturday with a buddy of mine, and we're going to go and film a video for Thorn Brothers is the plan. So hopefully we can get that accomplished. And then Jessie did kind of talk me into going crappie fishing on Friday. We haven't been crappie fishing at all this winter, so she wants to go do that. So I think we're going to crappie fish Friday and then do a little trout fishing Saturday. But yeah, things have been wild and crazy, and I definitely need 2 days away from my computer. It's been really cold up here, and I've just been working away. So regardless, yeah, that's about it for trout fishing. It's been good. It's been fun. Nick, are we staying on YouTube? I believe so. We're definitely going to add another platform into the membership page. Nick is one of our members. He's awesome guy. He's always chiming in, asking questions, and I think has been here since the start. He's definitely one of our most loyal members. He's always got good questions, always got good ideas for us. I don't know, Nick, you've been here since the start. If you wouldn't mind maybe just telling some of the folks what you've experienced in the membership, if it's helped, if it's hurt. I think out of the poll that we took, the number one reason that people were not joining or were hesitant to join was price point. 68% of people said price point. So our membership platform, and it's really weird and messed up right now because YouTube and Google don't like Apple and iPhones and whatever else. But our price point right now is between $8 and $10. We're going to try and eliminate that with some stuff here coming forward. But regardless, 68% of people said that that fee of, originally was $7.99 was the reason why they were not signing up for our membership. So I thought that was really interesting due to the fact that, and maybe Nick can talk about this, is how much information is in there and how valuable I feel at least that is. We have over 150 videos now on our membership page. So there's a ton of information in there. It's weekly uploads. We do live episodes like this as often as I can in the off season. When I'm not guiding, it's a lot easier for me to do, but a lot of awesome stuff in there. And I can guarantee you it's worth a lot more than $7.99 a month. There's so much content and there's so much amazing stuff. But regardless, maybe I can let Nick speak on that. But that was really interesting. That was an interesting feedback because I can guarantee you, if you didn't buy, call it 3 more musky baits a year and use that $100 to put into the membership, I could teach you way more and help you be way more successful than what 3 more musky baits are going to get you in that season. So that's my short pitch on that. But regardless, yeah, let's get into some more questions here from you guys. Chances on the Odyssey. Every year they ask me to do it, and every year I tell them to do it earlier in March, and I would go, because generally it's in April. It's always, I think it's been the second week in April for a long time, or maybe first or third. But regardless, April is arguably my busiest month of the season. Walleyes are going really good in Green Bay. It's one of my favorite bites of the year. So I'm not going to make it to the Odyssey, unfortunately, but I want to get there really, really bad. I've talked to the guys multiple times, but it's just a thing where it's hard for me to leave, my customers and people who've been fishing me for years that always have their dates locked in, and say, hey, I'm not going to be able to make it this year. So that's a tough part. I don't want the whole show to revolve around me by any means, but if they ever did move it up before or prior to March 20th, I would most definitely be there in a heartbeat. I think it's a super cool show. I'd love to go. I'd love to see it. I actually just had a guy call me today from Toronto from one of their sports shows and asked me to do a seminar next year in Toronto. I think the only issue on that is going to be it's the same weekend as the Milwaukee Muskie show, that Valentine's weekend in February. So unless something changes with those dates, which I highly doubt, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it. I want to get to a sports show in Canada so bad, because I know I have a bunch of people there that want to talk muskies, and I want to talk a bunch of muskies with them because it's hands down my favorite place in the world to fish. Best lake trout videos ever. I appreciate it. I appreciate that a lot. We put a lot of work into them. There's some really good trout content out there, but I think we've got some of the best chase videos or fish chasing down lures. We've got the screen recording now with our new Apex unit and the Mega Live 2, which is super fun. It shows up really crisp and clean, and just where I fish here in northwestern Ontario is really awesome, because the fish, like I said, are super charged up. They chase really, really hard. You don't see that in a lot of other YouTube videos out there. So thank you. I appreciate that a lot. There's definitely bigger fish out there on YouTube, but I think we have some of the most entertaining trout on YouTube. Gonna be mid 40s here tomorrow, going after some gills with my dad. That's awesome. Get out and on the ice. Is that in the ice fishing? Where is it gonna be mid 40s? There must be ice somewhere. Maybe southern Wisconsin, Iowa. I don't know. Yeah, no, Nick's got some good points there. It is cheap. I've always made that joke. It's cheaper than a Big Mac to join our membership. Nick Taylor.
This has been sitting at my house.
Hey.
Oh, sorry.
You jumping on this or not?
Doug's on YouTube live.
I think Jess is talking to her nephew, but let's see. I know a guy said try to fish deeper. I like to cast deeper than normal people, and then he sometimes will fish shallow again. I'm definitely, the more musky fishing I do, like, I definitely love the shallow bite, and is by far my favorite. Bucktails, topwaters is absolutely my jam. But I'm in the last 5 years, I became a big rubber guy as well. I'd say bucktails and rubber are my two most confident baits. And I'm definitely finding myself fishing deeper and deeper, and having a lot more confidence and comfortable fishing deeper and deeper. Dogs, tubes, swim baits, all that stuff for me is absolute killers for me throughout the season. Doesn't matter if it's opening day or the last day of the season. Rubber, I've always got rubber on a rod. Never fished Alberta bull trout. I've never done that. We did a splake trip by Atacocan. This was probably 6 years ago. I don't know if I ever made a video of it or not. I know I filmed something, but I don't know if it turned out great. We caught a big sight fishing hole and did some stuff with that, but I've never fished bull trout. That sounds cool. Yeah, so how I approach the different spots in Canada is a great question. Yeah, and these are, I'm guessing Nick's one of our members as well. So I'm guessing, I'm going to take down some notes here too, and I'm going to look through all these comments when we're done, and go back and start to stack this stuff up, because I'm always looking for fresh content, and I run out of ideas of what I think you guys want to see. So if you guys can give me ideas of what you want to see, then it makes it easier for me to go out and create that content for you guys, especially on our membership page, but also on the public page as well. We did just launch our new series, The Bucket List. Released our first video 2 weeks ago, maybe early January. I don't know how you guys. There's a ton of comments on it, a ton of feedback. Sound like everybody loved it. Mainly, they love my wife's potty mouth. I did get all the monetization taken off of that from YouTube. But that's whatever. I've talked to you guys about this before. That YouTube video has 10,000 views now, so I maybe would have made $30 off of that video. And if I wanted to do that, I would have had to cut out all the swears, all the beeps, everything else. So I just let her buck. I didn't care. I didn't care about the $30. That's not why I made the video. I've got not hundreds, but we had 4 days of fishing into that, and then I sat, and it probably took me 12 to 15 hours to edit it. So I wasn't doing it for the $30. I was doing it for you guys to enjoy. I think it's important to keep some content rolling on our public page, right? We've obviously stepped back a lot from, say, 3 years ago, but just simply because of the fact that, like I told you guys in the past, I mean, for me to spend 4 days of fishing and then edit it for 12 to 15 hours, and then make $30, like that, it doesn't make sense for me, unfortunately, for where I'm at. But I do set some of that time aside and make some time to do that stuff for you guys. But I think a lot of people love that. We're going to have another one. We got one more of the bucket list coming this year for sure. I got that edited. I did both of them back to back, and it was really nasty out for a while, and just stuck inside and jammed the keyboard for a few days in a row, but we got them done. So we got more of those coming. But I hope you guys really enjoyed the start of that series, and that's something I want to continue to do here for years to come, is the plan. But yeah, I guess going back to your question, Nick, sorry. It all depends on, I think water clarity is the biggest thing, or where the bait fish are at, and time of year, as far as how deep I'm going to fish. Generally, your summer patterns, you're going to be pretty shallow. It all depends where you're fishing, right? If I was on Lake of the Woods in July, I want to be no deeper than 12 feet of water, as long as I can hit, shore, or where, the shallowest part where I feel like I can, where the fish are going to be. If I was on Eagle Lake, that might bump out to 15 feet, right? Because of the clarity. Now on Eagle Lake, that'd be maybe in the middle of the lake, right? So the southern part of the lake, you got a lot dirtier water, so I'd probably fish that a little bit shallower. The western arm of the lake, you got a little bit clearer water, so I'd probably fish that a little bit deeper. No different than a lake like, say, Jesse's Lake Pipestone, where we did the bucket list. That was opening weekend, right? So we did a lot of shallow bay fishing. We also did a lot of high current area fishing. The high current areas were generally deeper. Some of our spots were shallower, depending on the structure. But that lake, I would say, fishes a little bit deeper. It is clear. It's trout water, right? There's lake trout in there, ciscos in there, whitefish. So that's a lot of, I'd say, boat in 20. If you're fishing general structure. Now, if you're fishing in the spring, right, a lot of our stuff might have been 12 to 15 feet of water, somewhere in there. And then there's definitely times if we're fishing any high bank walls where the boat can be in 80 feet, 100 feet, and you're casting to shore. But regardless, that's the the short version on that, but I'll keep that. I'm going to go back and I'm going to write down a bunch of these or copy a bunch of these awesome comments that we get from you guys as far as new video ideas for the membership. That'd be a really, really good ones. Marinette County perch bite. I've seen somebody's getting some perch on the bay. 40 degrees in Peshtigo. Good grief. That's insane. It's 19 degrees here right now. In Canada. Cade. Another one of our members. Learn to be more efficient. We do want to, so I did have in some of the questions that we asked on Facebook, we did have some people that wanted a little bit more trolling content. So I'm definitely going to focus on filming some of that stuff this year for musky trolling. We're going to do maybe 2 or 3 videos on musky trolling specifically. So yeah, that was a good one and one that I made a note of as well. What do I think about the Musky Cup? It's a good time. I fished it twice now. It disqualified the first year because we were 7 minutes late, and you only have a limit of 5 minutes late, I believe. But the reason we were late is Jessie caught a 15.5 incher on literally her last cast, and we had a 40-minute boat ride back. So, but it's a good time this year. This year was definitely tough fishing. Numbers were really low. I think Jessie got a 43 incher the first day. I got a 48 incher the second day. Both years we've hooked plenty of fish to win it. I'm sure other teams have as well, but I'm going to win that thing here. I think I figured some stuff out this fall, so I think I got a good shot next year. But I'm excited for it. I already got it blocked off on my calendar for next year. Tips for figure eighting crankbaits: square lip versus round lip. Seems like if they go fast, always blow out. That is a Achilles heel of square lipped crankbaits. It's really hard to get them to do what you want in a figure eight. Biggest tip I could probably give you is just fish with the longest rod you're comfortable fishing with, and then make sure you keep that rod tip in the water at all times. You never want that rod tip to be out of the water with your square build crankbaits because they will pop out. That's another reason I generally like to reach for the classic grandma that you guys have seen in a ton of our videos, and then baits like a Triple D, right? Those bigger or nice profiled minnow baits, but that have a round lip just for your figure eight scenarios that you want to be able to keep that bait in the water, have it not blow out like you're talking about. But as far as a tip for that, I mean, long rod, short leader, 9-inch, probably a 9-inch. When I fish my big crankbaits, it's a 9-inch single strand 174. One of our leaders and lures, custom leaders is what I fish on those. So you can get that rod tip real close to the bait, have a lot of control of it next to the boat or boat side, and then try and go about it that way. Don't rush it, I would say. Take your time. It's not something you can figure out super fast because, like you mentioned, they will definitely blow out. Trying to learn fishing deeper. Any tips when you go deep versus shallow? I mean, I would say I fish shallow to start, and if I'm not seeing what I want to see, I bump out. I'm definitely a shallow water angler. That's my jam. That's my style. That's where I'm most confident. I think I'm the most effective. You can cover water a lot faster in shallow areas, but if you're not getting any results or any feedback from the fish, that's when I'll start to pull out and get a little bit deeper. But I definitely, watching, I mean, electronics are huge. Watching to see if there's bait behind you, watching your side imaging, any of that stuff. There's weed growth behind you, right? Making sure you're on that outside edge. You generally don't want to be inside of the fish. You want to be outside of them. Less chance of them knowing that you're there or that you're, so much in their presence. If you're inside, kind of that line of wherever they feel comfortable, you want to try and be outside of that. You don't want to be in the weed bed, right? You want to be out of the weed bed if possible, if they're small enough, right? Top 3 Canadian waters for muskies and walleyes. I mean, your top 2 right off the top of the head is Lake of the Woods and Eagle. I think there's a tie for third across the board for a lot of different lakes. There's just so many good ones. Like that's the beauty of, I would say, Northwestern Ontario is walleye fishing is incredible. The musky fishing is incredible. I think all of us here we've all heard the old timers say that muskies eat all the walleyes, but it is pretty funny that all the best walleye fisheries are generally really, really good musky fisheries. So I think the old timers are the ones that are eating them all versus the big saber-toothed muskies. What else do we got in here, guys? We're caught up on questions. Maybe I'll read off some to you guys, some of the poll questions that I asked. If you guys didn't see those, we basically asked what type of content are our viewers looking for? Are they looking for educational, entertainment, question and answer? What kind of format or what kind of videos do you guys want to see? If we were to give in or add to our membership with any added bonuses, what people would be most interested in, whether it be a giveaway or discount codes, a specific closed member Facebook group. Everybody could kind of chat in, share information in, talk about that stuff, but not have to worry about it getting out to the rest of the world, and then doing live videos like this in there, stuff like that. Fishing reports. This was a pretty popular one, but getting fishing reports from either myself or other people that I'm connected with around the musky industry or musky world, other fishing guides, maybe get a fishing report on northern Wisconsin, or if I'm on Green Bay, or if I'm on Lake of the Woods, or if one of my buddies is in Minnesota, reach out to those guys and get some kind of fishing report to give you guys an idea of what's going on and have it be very current, very updated. So you guys kind of got a deal, know what's going on. We asked what platform you guys would want it on. So this was a question I think that Nick asked right away, is if we're staying on YouTube. Basically, the different platforms we came up with were Patreon, Kajabi, a Facebook group, right? And then Stick with YouTube. Stick with YouTube was definitely the most popular. It's obviously where I have a large following, right? Our Instagram following is a little bit bigger than our YouTube following now, but regardless, the majority of the people said stick with YouTube. I think we're definitely going to do that, but as I mentioned earlier, we are going to add another platform. We just got to I got to start working on that here this next week and start looking into that stuff. What style format? This was a question. We've got a couple different ones. So in the membership, we've done a lot of different kinds of videos. One thing we've done a handful of times is series. We did a series of a bucktail series and basically talked about all the different components of a bucktail. We had one specific episode on wire, one specific episode on clevis, one specific video on blades, and then one specific video on skirt types. And it all kind of talked about all the different variables, all the different options that are out there, and then what those variables are doing to your bucktail so that you can understand, and try and establish a pattern if you're getting bit on one specific bait. So the series formats, that was our most popular one. That's what people agreed to as well. 42% of the people said they liked the series, and I like the series a lot too, personally. I really like to dive into a topic and really break it down and get super attention to detail. I'm definitely a details person myself. I've always loved the saying, little things catch big things. That's one that I live by and always have in the back of my mind. So I love the series format. We also had people that wanted to mix it up, and keep changing the format so it's not the same thing. Even when we did the series, I think we were doing every other week was one of those series videos, and then in between we were breaking it up, but we had a series going for quite a while. It just, instead of being 4 weeks in a row, it was 2 weeks and then 2 weeks and then 2 weeks and then 2 weeks, right? So and then some people had no preference one way or the other, right? This was one that I found very interesting in our polling questions. I asked if anyone would be interested in having a membership page on other species or adding other species to our current membership page. I wasn't expecting the answer, but we had 36% of the people that said they wanted more walleye content, which was pretty crazy. And then we also had an answer in there for musky only, which was also 36%. So those two took the cake for more walleye content and stick with musky content. We're both 36%. Smallmouth and lake trout we're both smaller percentages, but I found that very interesting. I enjoy making walleye content. It's not something that I do a ton. I do about 6 to 8 weeks of walleye fishing every year, and then once musky season opens up, I get after it. But I do love my walleye fishing. I absolutely look forward to that every single season. It's how I start my season, and it's always a really, really good time. I enjoy really big, giant walleyes, and Green Bay does a really good job of allowing me the opportunity to fish for them. Price point, we talked about that one, right? So we talked about different price points. Everybody, of course, voted for the cheaper price point, but we did have a good amount of people that actually were willing to pay more money for some things. It kind of is going to depend on what we want to do. I haven't made a decision on that at all, but regardless, I think we're going to have different tiers going forward. But I haven't figured all that out yet. So regardless, another question we asked or input we've had a lot or questions we've had a lot on is if people want to be billed yearly or monthly. A lot of people I've heard wanted to be billed yearly, and that was 32% of the people said yearly, 47% said monthly, and 20% said they don't care one way or the other. So right now it's monthly. I can't control that with the platform that we're on right now with YouTube. They only do it monthly. I know some people made the comment they'd like to see a discount for if you were to sign up for a year. I wish we could do that. I would love to do that. Unfortunately, I'm not in control of that. YouTube is. All I get to do is set the price, and then YouTube runs how the payment's taken, how the payment's taken, also, and what percentage they take out of it. So they take 30%, kind of a royalty fee out of our membership. So our membership is $7.99 a month. YouTube takes 30% of that. So in reality, I take home $5.52 per member per month out of that. So that's that with YouTube. I wish we could do yearly. It's not an option with YouTube, but we are looking into some other options with that. And like I mentioned earlier, what was holding people back? And the number one answer was price point. I know Nick had wrote some stuff in here earlier on the value that he's found in our membership platform. I think it kind of speaks for itself. We've got some really good people in there. I think some people that have learned a lot. I know people have learned a lot in there. We get a lot of awesome feedback from that as well. What else do we get for questions in here? Saw lawn came out in an 18.5 foot glass impact. Any initial thoughts on a guy like that who can't fit a 20-foot boat in the garage? I think it will have a good ride. They've been working on that one for a while. So they previously had the 189 Tyee. That boat did not ride well. From everything that I'd heard, I'd never been in one, but I think they saw they had an issue, went back to the drawing board, and then redesigned it, and now came out with the 18.5 footer. So now they've redone their 20-foot glass boat. Last year they did the new 202, and now they did the new 185. So I'm guessing, I haven't personally rode in one. I saw the videos of them, pictures of them. The rod locker looks huge. The seating looks nice. Front deck looks really big. It looks like definitely a fisherman's boat, but it does have some family function to it as well. So I think it's going to be a good boat. Like I said, I don't know if I'm going to get to ride in one, but from what I've seen, pictures, videos that I watched on them, it looks like a pretty nice boat, and they're at a really good price point, which is hard to find, obviously, nowadays, especially with a glass boat. How is navigation on Eagle? Spoiled with good mapping in Minnesota, kind of been deterring me from heading up there over the last few years. It's horrible. It is very, very horrible. There is a 10-foot contour, and it's not even close. It's basically just letting your 2-year-old draw with a crayon what's out there for contour lines. There's no good mapping available out there right now. There's rumors that there's some stuff coming, but I don't know. There's not anything on the market right now at this moment that you can buy that has good mapping for Eagle Lake. It's very scary. It's a shield lake. There's tons of hittable rocks, especially if you go on the south end of the lake down towards Osborne, where you get into the dirty water. There's minefields. I mean, I go and stay with my buddy Scotty and Tony. Those two grew up in the lake. They've both been there for almost, I think Tony's 51, 52. Scotty's in his high 40s. Their dad had owned a resort in the lake forever. There's places in the southern part of the lake they won't even dare drive, and they've been there their whole entire lives and been guiding on the lake, fishing the lake. So I avoid those areas most definitely, but I've definitely had some help with those guys. And I think if you stay with the lodge, they'll be able to get you, a map and show you where the hittable rocks are and kind of the areas to stay away from. I wouldn't let it deter you from it, but you definitely have to be careful. Keep your head on a swivel. Don't take any risks, and just respect the water. for sure. I think we need some brown trout. I like this answer, Matt. I appreciate that. I think we need some brown trout too. Most underrated fish. Uh, I think that's out there. I absolutely love brown trout. Love me some browns. Originally only said only musky, but other species like walleye, smallies, and lakers would be pretty cool too. Yeah, I don't know what we're gonna do yet. I definitely want to I don't have enough walleye content to make a members page for walleye content and make 52 videos a year and keep up with that. I can't. The musky stuff is a ton of work as it is to come up with 52 videos a year for the musky side of things. So it would be cool to kind of mix some stuff in, but I just really want to make sure that our members are cool with that, and I don't want to upset anybody. I mean, this is for everyone. It's not specifically for any one person. So trying to just figure out what everybody wants to see and keep everybody happy, I think is a tall task. But yeah, we could definitely look into some of those. What do you do differently depending on time of year when fishing for muskie, for example, middle of July versus late September? Good question. Late September, I would say even that time frame, it all depends on the weather. September, you start to get that cool down. A lot of your fish start to push a little bit shallower. A lot of bites kind of start to go to top water. You hear about a lot of top water fishing in September, generally a little bit bigger blades. Would be a great way to go in September, but it's all going to depend on the fishery where you're at. I know if you're talking about Green Bay in July, we're casting, bulldogs and bucktails and whatnot. And then come September, we're actually trolling because a lot of our fish move deeper versus a lot of the fish in September, say in your Minnesota lakes, northern Wisconsin lakes, are going to push shallower. So it all depends on your fisheries. But for the most part, a lot of your waters in September, the fish are going to move a little bit shallower. And then if you do get a cold enough fall, which we've not had the last 3 years, eventually once they make that shallow push in September, then after that, they'll start to make that deeper push. But that's now lately been, middle of October, towards the end of October, when the fish are starting to slide a little bit deeper. So I would definitely fish more topwater. I would fish a little bit bigger lures on average. And I would check some deeper stuff versus your shallow, July stuff, just in case those fish are sliding out and you do have enough cold to start to push those fish out. But I would definitely, like I said earlier, start shallow. You can cover a lot more water when you're fishing shallow. And if you're not getting the response that you want to see from your fish, you're not seeing anything with your eyes, your electronics, stuff like that, then slide a little bit deeper. Maybe do some more rubber stuff, some dogs, some tubes, deuces, and fish a little bit deeper off the edges, or back off just a little bit there, and see what you got going on. But late September, it all depends where you're at. That's a really tough time. You're going to start to run into that turnover period. I think that's the most challenging thing about the Musky Cup. Someone mentioned earlier is it's generally right around that turnover point, or waters low 60s, about to get into the high 50s, and that's just a tough time to catch muskie. Really tough time to catch muskie. But that's when tubes and rubber baits really shine, I would say. I wish Lund would get rid of the pads in the front of the consoles. The 202 takes away from the fishing boat feel, especially when they've already got them. I agree. And I think that's kind of why they've kept the 219 the way it is like the 219 is definitely their big water fishing boat. I like a lot of things about the 202. I like the layout. I like the rod locker is actually bigger in that boat than it is in my 21-foot boat. If you wanted to get rid of them, I'm sure you could, right? You can rip them off. The one thing I would probably suggest then is putting some kind of pad behind there, maybe be an aqua traction pad, just to cover up. I'm sure there's going to be some glue or residue or whatever it is. But then you eliminate the cushion. I mean, there are those big nice pads that they have in the front. If somebody wants to lay out there, you still have that. You could snap that in easily. And then for the backrest, instead of having the cushion that's attached to the front side of the console, maybe just use a throwable boat cushion or a life jacket or a sweatshirt or something, to have a nice padded backrest if someone's going to lay out up there. But I think there's ways around that. You just might have to tear some stuff out of a brand new boat, which is going to hurt the heart a little bit. I understand that. but I would definitely be in the same boat as you. I'd tear those freaking things out as fast as I could. But I love the layout of the boat. The 202 is a really, really cool boat. Ooh, tips on how to get sponsors. That is a very tough question, especially in today's age. Everybody, me and my wife joke about this a lot. A lot of people want to be influencers. A lot of people, influencers. A lot of people want to be work with brands, work with companies. It's freaking hard because there's so many people now that are willing to do so much for little to nothing in return. And it's just everything is so saturated. Biggest thing is just create quality content, be consistent, find kind of your niche, what you do really well. I think I do educational stuff really well. That's why I think a lot of my channels have succeeded, right? We do some really high quality content stuff. We're not Jay Siemens over here, but we have really high quality fish bites, fish eats, I would say. And then we do a lot of very good educational stuff at a very high level, like we do with our membership page. So I think that's what kind of makes me stand apart, and why I've had some success. I also got into the game a lot earlier, because social media is what these companies want to see now when it comes to sponsorship. It's not, it's very little now if you're a fishing guide or if you're fishing tournaments. It's a lot more about even the bass tournament guys. It is all about your social media, how big your platform is, how in touch you are with your audience, and stuff like that. So there's a lot more to it, but find out what you're really good at in social media side of the world. Creating quality content is very, very important. And then finding your niche of what you're really good at to help you stand out from other people is a huge, huge thing. You have to prove yourself to them, right? They owe you nothing. You have to prove yourself to them before they should have to give back to you, right? So one thing that I always try and go above and beyond for all the brands that I work with, and definitely go the extra mile for that, because no matter whatever they give you, you have to multiply that by 7 for them, generally, for it to be worth it for them. That was a line that I heard from KVD a couple of years ago. He was talking about sponsorships and Bass Pro Shops, and if anybody knows the sponsorship game or the that kind of world, it would be Kevin Van Dam from the bass side of things. I mean, the GOAT of bass fishing, been doing it forever, and he said, whatever they're paying you or giving you, you need to multiply their sales by 7, or if they're giving you $1,000, you need to make them $7,000. And making $7,000 is not gross. That is net $7,000 because they're paying you in net dollars. So it's a really tricky game. The business side of the fishing industry is not fun. There's not a lot of money there. There's a lot of people in it because everybody wants to fish for a living. And don't get me wrong, I truly enjoy it and I love it, but it is a cutthroat business and cutthroat industry, no doubt, for sure. Sorry, that was a long answer for that. Yeah, like Nick said, separate pages for muskies and walleyes. I don't have enough content. I don't think I could come up with 52 videos, and maybe we don't do one every week. Maybe it's one a month. Maybe that's something we can come up with. But a lot of my walleye fishing I do is in the spring, so I would really want it to pertain to spring. Maybe we run a membership for 2 months or 3 months in the spring. People can subscribe to it then, and then we put it on pause and bring it back the next spring. That could be something that we could do for sure. What are your thoughts on the 2-pound swim bait? The Monster Swimming Dog? It's pretty freaking cool. It's a big giant lure. I've never caught a muskie on it, but I think I have netted 3 or 4 muskies on it. My buddy Kurt, who owns Thorn Brothers, loves big baits. If you guys have watched some videos on the channel, see you guys throwing around a 2-pounder. It's my buddy Kurt. He also likes to throw Monster Swimming Dogs. It's my buddy Kurt. So luckily, we make the best rod in the world for throwing the biggest rubber in the world, the double extra heavy predator. So it's a really cool bait. It's got an amazing action. I've thrown it a handful. I threw it this fall for a while, probably gave it 3 hours. Did not have any bites on it. I did catch myself a 2-pounder muskie this year, so that was super fun, and had some other 2-pounder opportunities. But yeah, the big Monster Swimming Dog is a really cool bait. I just haven't caught a fish on it yet, but like I said, I have netted a handful of fish with it. Is there a discount on lodging if you hire a guide on Canadian lakes? That would be a question. I'm sure every resort is different. That'd be a question to ask. Hired me. What? No, hired if you hired a guide on Canadian lakes. That'd be a question for each individual lodge. Probably depends on time of year, how busy they are, how booked up they are, and if they're willing to wheel and deal with you. Generally, the longer you stay, the better deal you're going to get. I don't want to speak for some camps. Just have this is your day rate. This is what it is, cut and dry. Some people that maybe don't have a ton of business or aren't super booked up can have any kind of move around with that stuff as well and try and get yourself a deal. Oh boy, it took a while, but we finally hit this topic. I don't know if our fisheries can handle it. I'm pretty worried. I'm worried about it myself. I think we're already behind. I think it's going to be up. It is up to the anglers. I think we all need to do a better job of working together to raise money. All this comes down to money. Money makes the world go around. Doesn't matter if it's getting content from a membership platform, if it's putting muskies in lakes, if it's getting a new road paved, right? Money is what makes the world go around, unfortunately, and it sucks. So I think we all need to work together. I think it's important to work with local musky clubs. It's important to support businesses and people that give back to other musky fisheries, or say if they give back to stocking. I know Thorn Brothers stocked a whole bunch of muskies. I think the last 2 years in a row, they gave back, I want to say $30,000 worth of money to go into muskie stocking. I think they're doing an even larger number this year as far as money that they're donating to their local DNR to raise muskies in the state of Minnesota. So supporting those shops or groups or clubs, I think, is a really, really important deal. I was just on a call with, we had a DNR meeting or a Green Bay guide meeting that the DNR held here on Monday night. I sat in on a call with, there was a handful of other guides there. I think there was 30 guides in total between who was online and who was in person. But we talked about the state of the fishery, where everything's at. We had a biologist for our muskies, our walleyes, whitefish, smallmouth, and yellow perch. And there was some really good stuff in there, but it all comes down to money, guys. I really wish we could get an increase in our fishing license prices. I really wish that we would raise our guide licenses. Fun fact for you guys, it costs $40 for me to buy a guide license in the state of Wisconsin. Now, being on a Great Lake, I have to have a captain's license and all that other stuff, which probably adds up to $2,500. But regardless, for $40, I can make a living off of a public resource, which I think is absolutely wild. I wish that number would go to $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 a year. I would be more than willing to pay it. I think everyone else should have to pay it. I don't think I've kept a fish in the last 3 years of my guiding, but it doesn't matter. If you're catching fish, there is mortality, regardless if you're throwing them in your live well or if you have fish that are hooked deeply. We're fishing for all these fish with hooks, right? So things are going to happen. So I think we all need to come together. And I think if people can afford to buy the latest and greatest in technology or the latest and greatest in boats or equipment, any of that stuff, I think we can all put up a little bit of money to help support our fisheries and give back to them. I think it's something that's super overlooked, and I wish we could do more of it. It's another avenue that looking at doing or trying to help raise awareness with. Jess and I were talking about this the other day, and I was talking about it with another friend of mine about raising more money for that. $40. That is why there's so many guides. It would get rid of a lot of guides. I think I would love to see it. And in Minnesota, there is no such thing as a guide license. You don't need to have a guide license. You just need to have a fishing license in the state of Minnesota, which is wild to me, right? Lake of the Woods, Mississippi River, you have to have a captain's license, which captain's license doesn't give back to the fisheries at all. The captain's license goes to the Coast Guard, which is the government, right? So it's not going back into our fisheries. It's just a license saying that, I had to pay for my classes. I had to go through a drug test, had to do all this other stuff, get special certifications and cards and all these other hoops you have to jump through to get a captain's license. It's a total pain. But and like I said, that cost me about $2,500, about 3 weeks of my life. But regardless, that's what I need to do my job on a public or a federal waterway. But for $40, anybody in this chat can go to the state of Wisconsin, buy a Wisconsin fishing license and a Wisconsin guide license. If you're a resident of the state of Wisconsin, it's $20 for a fishing license. So you have $40 for a guide license. So for $60, you can make a public or a living off of a public resource and not have to give a dime back, which is absolutely insane. So anyways, there's my short rant for the day. But I would really love to see a lot more higher rates on not only our fishing license, but especially our guide licenses. And fun fact, there's 115 guides registered on Green Bay, which is insane. I don't even know. I couldn't even name 12 guides on Green Bay. It's wild to me, but everybody's a guide nowadays. I'm really glad I got in, started doing this before it got as popular as it is. But regardless, kind of going back to the forward-facing sonar, it's not going to go away. It's not going to get banned. It's going to come down to responsibilities and then giving back to the resource and finding ways to help support our fisheries. Lower limits, I think, definitely have to come into play. That was something I was begging for in our DNR meeting. I was also asking for a catch and release season on not only our bass. We have a catch and release bass season in the state of Wisconsin, and bass season, you can't keep a bass from the end of February until the first Saturday in May, but yet we can fish for walleyes year round, and we can keep one walleye per day in that time frame of the end of February to first Saturday in May. Why not just make it a catch and release season? Why are we allowing people to take home walleyes or females that are full of eggs, haven't spawned yet? People are snagging fish in the rivers, not legally catching them in the mouths. We would save our DNR officers so much work by having to not answer those calls and go to that stuff. I don't want to get too down the rabbit hole political stuff here, but regardless, we need to give back to our fisheries. We need to support our local DNR and try and help those guys. Anchor wardens have an incredibly hard job. And there's some simple things, simple rule changes we can make that would make their lives and jobs so much easier, to not have to worry about going down and, getting 20 phone calls about a guy snagging walleyes, and taking home his 128-incher versus the guy that's, got a net in his backyard or spearing walleyes illegally at night or whatever, right? It's just, we're off the deep end here. We got 10 minutes left. So let's try and end this on some high notes here. I did do good with the pit bull on the bay last year. Definitely caught some fish in the pit bull. It's pretty cool. Musky stamp. They won't do a musky stamp because there's a bunch of legislation and BS that goes into it, and it's actually a ton of work. I suggested that a long time ago, but apparently that's a huge pain in the ass. So it's the government. It's nothing can happen quickly or efficiently. It all has to go through way many hands and way too many people. Yeah, we need industry leaders and companies to speak out against sharpshooting. I understand. I definitely understand both sides of it. I think it comes down to ethics. Like I said, it's not going to go away. So many people are scared to talk about it because it is such a touchy subject, and you don't want to hurt your business or your name or your reputation or what it is on one side or the other, because, like I said, it is such a touchy subject. But I think it's most important to put the fish first. Most definitely not targeting fish that are deep. It's no different than targeting fish that are when the water's above 80 degrees. You're targeting fish out of season. It's no different when you don't want to be targeting fish that are deeper than a certain threshold, whether that threshold is 20 feet, if that's 18 feet, if it's 25 feet, if it's dependent on water temperature. There's so much unknown factors with it. I think we all could, most anglers would agree that targeting a muskie deeper than 25 or 30 feet is not a good idea. All right. What are some lakes or bodies of water that you haven't fished yet or haven't spent a lot of time yet and want to fish more? Anything north of the border. There's so many muskie lakes in northwestern Ontario, specifically northwestern Ontario, or anything from, say, Lake Nipissing, right? That's kind of the whatever straight above the lower end of Michigan, from Nipissing to northwestern Ontario. That part of the world is super amazing and just beautiful, and I think has the best musky fishing in the world to offer. There's some cooler stuff out east. There's some other stuff that I definitely want to do out east. I did a little bit of this. I did one big trip this last year out east to a specific place, and I didn't really enjoy it. If I'm being honest, it was cool, but the scenery was nothing compared to Northwest Ontario. Yeah, forward-facing sonar has brought a lot of guides into the world because it's pretty easy. People, they don't want to say it's easy, but there's definitely times of the year when things are very, very easy with forward-facing. There's a lot of forward-facing sonar guides that no one ever knew who they were or what they were doing until they had a transducer. I don't know, I'm going to catch 40-inch laker through the ice. I'm hoping like Saturday. That'd be kind of cool. Yeah, catch release bass season. It's an issue, especially on inland lakes. I could definitely see that being an issue. On the Great Lakes, it hasn't been an issue as much for us, but definitely on inland lakes because our fish are way more diverse, I think, than a lot of your inland lakes. The fish are stacked on top of each other a lot more as far as your species. I definitely think, yeah, that could be an issue. I just don't see, like, if we're protecting our bass, why can't we protect our walleyes? But I do think you have a point. Interesting on the Minnesota biologists. Interesting, and there's I don't know if it's still split. And Kurt and the guys at Thorn would know because they're working, and Ben would know a lot about this because they've dug really deep into it and they're trying to help the fishery and the state. It's very interesting to me that Minnesota doesn't have that many musky lakes. They're not native to very many places. I want to say Minnesota is less than 200 musky lakes, whereas Wisconsin has thousands. But the interesting part in Minnesota is that there's been two sides and have been arguing for years over maintaining the lakes that they have and putting muskies into new lakes. And the new lakes one brings up and triggers a lot of people due to the fact that people don't want them in their lake because they eat other walleyes. There was all the stories in the news about muskies biting kids' feet and whatever else. And I don't understand why we can't just come together as a group, take care of the fisheries that Minnesota is known for building, creating some of the biggest muskies in the world. And the fact that Mille Lacs died, Vermilion is in a really tough spot is really, really, really sad. I think I'd love to see everybody just come together and support the lakes that are already established. People know there's muskies in them. If there's muskies in them, they're already there. Get over it. If people don't want muskies in a lake, why are we putting muskies in a lake? Let's put muskies in a lake that already has muskies but needs more muskies. My 2 cents. Who does a wrap for my boat? I'm having a different company do it this year. I'm doing Mustang Graphics is doing it this year out of Minnesota. In the past, it's been Creative Sign in Green Bay, but their prices this year were insanely expensive. It was like 40% more. Yeah, I think for like live in perspective mode to see follows. Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that. You're not intentionally targeting a deep fish or driving around, and it's not even the driving around thing that drives me nuts. It's targeting and casting at fish that are at a threshold that cannot handle it, right? People can make the argument all day long that you can catch a muskie casting a bulldog out of 20 feet of water. You can, right? If you're just fishing a piece of structure, deep sand grass or deep weed edge, whatever, and there can be a muskie out in the open water that's 5 feet under the surface, so you can cast that and catch. Understand that, right? Then you're not going to be able to win that argument or win that fight. But when people are intentionally targeting fish that are deep or below a certain threshold, that's when it's just, in my opinion, irresponsible. Bigger fish on Lake of the Woods. That's what's there, man. Like there's a 50-incher on Lake of the Woods is a hard fish to catch. They're not everywhere. Lake of the Woods is full of muskies. It's a super fun fishery because there is a bunch of them. But there's not a 50-incher behind every point. That's just not the case. Bump boards, I think, have really toned down the amount of 50-inchers that there are in the world. I would say, and Lake of the Woods is one of those places as well. I don't think it's as good as it once was, or the pressure, this, that, and the other. It's a tough one. 50-inchers on Lake of the Woods are hard. Top bait 2024 casting muskie. 10-inch tube, Red October tube. The app that I use right now for majors and minors is ISO Lunar. Holy crap, it's $6.59. I'm gonna wrap up these last 3 questions. I got to jump over the membership page. You guys want to jump over, there's a join button here below. If you guys want to join the membership, $7.99 a month. You can cancel anytime. Super easy to cancel. You guys have seen all the comments in here. Anybody, I don't know if you guys can see it on your end or not, but I can see a star next to all the names. These people are all of our members. A lot of these guys have been in here for a long time. So if any of that stuff interests you, you guys want to check it out. You get instant access to 150 videos that are already on there that we've made from the last 3 years of putting time and effort into that. I think it's something you guys should check out, look into. I did, like I say, take a bunch of notes, and we did that poll. So we're going to start to figure out how we can better suit you guys and see what you guys want to see from myself and the channel and the pages going forward as well. Do you think someone will catch a signature? Have you heard of any whispers in the musky world? There's been a few 60-inchers caught that are actually legit. They're just kept very well under wraps. We have I think if you go way back, we can do an updated one, but if you go way back on the membership, there is a how to sharpen hooks properly one. Smallmouth trip on the bay. Let me know. All right. Appreciate all you guys coming on here. I think we had 70-some people at one point. But regardless, thank you guys for hopping on. I do like doing these. Hopefully we can do some more here in the future, not only on our membership channel where we're going to go to now, but also on our public channel here. Like I say, this is the time of year when I have the opportunity to do this stuff when I'm not guiding and working like crazy. So hope you guys had a good night. Hope you guys enjoyed stopping by. If you guys have more questions, you can always leave them in the comments below after this video ends as well. I think you guys can still leave comments. I'm definitely going to go back, look through them, and see what videos people were asking for and go from there. So I'm already 1 minute late. We're going to jump on over to the membership platform. If you guys want to see me there, I'll see you guys there. And thank you guys for jumping on. Appreciate all of you.